Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're looking at a pretty straightforward but fun problem from Leetcode. It's called maximum difference between adjacent elements in a circular array. We'll break it down piece by piece so it's super easy to understand. Let's get started. Alright, so here's the task. We're given a list of numbers, and the problem calls it a circular array. All that means is you should imagine the numbers are arranged in a circle. Because of this, the very first element and the very last element are considered neighbors. They're adjacent. Our goal is to find the biggest absolute difference between any two of these adjacent elements. Simple as that. Let's walk through an example to make this concrete. Imagine we have the list with numbers 1, 2, and 4. First, we look at the normal adjacent pairs. The difference between 1 and 2 is 1. The difference between 2 and 4 is 2. But we can't forget, it's a circle. So we also have to check the pair made up of the last element 4 and the first element 1. Their difference is 3. Comparing all the differences we found, 1, 2, and 3, the biggest one is 3. So that's our answer. So how do we solve this? Well, there isn't really a complex trick here. The most direct approach is actually the best one. We just need to be methodical. We'll go through the list, element by element, and calculate the difference with its neighbor. The only gotcha is remembering to also check the difference between the very last element and the very first one. As long as we do that, we'll find the maximum. Okay, so let's lay out a clear plan. First, let's handle that special circular pair. We'll calculate the absolute difference between the last and first numbers in the list. We'll store this value as our current best answer. Next, we'll just loop through the array like normal, from the beginning to the second to last element. For each element, we'll find the difference with the element immediately to its right. And finally, every time we calculate a new difference, we'll ask, is this bigger than the best answer we've found so far? If it is, we update our best answer. After checking all the pairs, the value we have stored will be our final answer. Here's what that plan looks like in Python. Don't worry if it looks a bit dense at first. We're about to break it down into smaller, simpler parts. First things first, we get the length of the list and store it. Then, we create a variable to hold our answer, which we can call max so far. We give it an initial value by calculating the absolute difference between the very first element, at index 0, and the very last element. This handles our circular case right at the start. Next comes the main part of our work, the loop. This loop runs from the start of the array up to, but not including, the very last element. Inside the loop, for each position I, we calculate a current difference. This is the absolute difference between the element at position I and its neighbor at position I plus 1. Then, we update our max so far variable by taking the larger value between its current self and this new current difference we just found. And finally, once the loop has finished checking all the regular adjacent pairs, the max so far variable will hold the largest difference found among all pairs, including the circular one. So we just return that value, and that's it. So how efficient is our solution? It's excellent. For time, we only have to pass through the list once. This means the time it takes grows linearly with the size of the list. We call this order n, or big O of n time, where n is the number of elements. For space, or memory, we only used a couple of variables to store the length and the max difference. This doesn't depend on the size of the input array at all. We call this order 1, or constant space. It's about as efficient as you can get. So to wrap it all up, the key takeaway is what circular array means. It's just a fancy way of saying the ends of the list connect. Once we get that, the solution is a straightforward, single pass through the data. A great strategy is to handle the special circular case first, then loop through the rest of the pairs, always keeping track of the biggest difference you've seen. I hope that explanation was clear and helpful. If it was, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe for more breakdowns, and leave any questions in the comments. And if you're feeling extra supportive, there's always the Boba Fund. Thanks for watching, happy coding, and I'll see you in the next video.